Hello all and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So for today we're going to be talking about grinding for silver, or most commonly known as silver per hour or silver per grind session. Now for most players, this is one surefire way to progress in BDO, and the way that BDO set up the seasons is that you can only get most of the materials for enhancing your Tuvala gear through grinding. So you kill monsters again and again, or what you call a rotation, for hours, and you sell what you get to gain more gains and then graduate to the next one. Before we proceed, I just wanted to make it known that BDO restricts you in certain aspects in the game, so you have to do some extra steps in order to maximize your silver per hour. So I wanted to show you these ones quickly so that you can improve on them later on. So the first ones are the pets, and these are the ones that pick up the item loots for you. And then the next one is the buffs and the debuffs, which are the church buffs, food buffs, elixirs, and skill buffs that you have that you would have to know and constantly put up before you set up on a grind. And lastly is your class and your skill points. So the more skill points that you have, the more skills that you could use for your class, but each class has different skill set, so it would affect your grind. Also to note that there are drop rate bonuses that affects your trash loot and also your your rare item drops, and these are your Book of Margahan and the item loot scrolls, and these are given out by the game for free most of the time, and if you have a VP you get this one daily. So this is the one that gives you 150% increase on your trash loot, meaning that if your base item is 1, then it would become 2.5. Now the problem with that one is that BDO rounds down computation like that, and you would just be granted 2 for those drops. But as the item increases, then the more items that you would get. And if you combine that one with the item loot scroll, then it's an effective 200%. So this is the one that you would be using most of the time when grinding from area to area to get more items. And the only time that you would be getting and using the advanced loot scroll is if the computation of your base item is not an odd number, meaning that it would not compute to 0.5s in terms of the loots, so that you would get more loot in the long run. So as a new player, what do you have to do to know where to grind? And I wanted to keep it as simple as possible for you so you don't have to go back here again and again. So all you have to do is press M, and then on the top right part of your map, on the third to the last icon, there is a detailed surrounding. So all you have to do is right click on this one, and even though if you have a fog of war going on, then this would ignore those ones and it would just show you the markers for the grind spots. And as you start the game at the Forest of Seclusion, you will be able to see what appropriate level is a certain grind spot if you're just leveling out. So this would show you, for example, the Goblin 12 to 15, and then Castle Ruins 18 to 21, up until you arrive at Catfishman Camp. And my main advice is finish the main story quest line so you would get your appropriate levels and also items for your gear, like the beginner gears and also the Tuvala items that you will be using. And then that's the only time I recommend you jumping into the ones that are marked as optimals and also have the recommended tags. And another way for you to find out what other things drop from those grind places is that by going to your menu and going over to the adventure and then selecting this item drop. And this shows you what drops on certain areas so that you would have an idea if it's worth it or not for you. For example, if you're grinding for SP in, let's say, Southern Garrison, then you would see that there's a lot of green grade items that drops that has a chance of giving you the plus items, which you could convert into blackstone weapons and armor for enhancing. And then this one also gives you this 31 million necklace of Schultz the Gladiator by chance. So this is one good way to boost your income if you are grinding in that spot, and also some of the forbidden books or the memory fragment scrolls. So this is very good for new players to go into so they would get an idea where to get certain items, especially towards the end game where they would be needing Spectre's energy. There's only specific areas where this one drops, so you would know where to go so that you will be able to craft your black stars. Whenever a season starts, most of the grind spots becomes crowded because of the limited servers, so I'm going to concentrate on AP ranges so that newer players would have options to go to when they want to grind. For AP range of 100 and below, I would recommend the Medalla area, as these are the ones that drops forbidden books that are expensive right now, and you could also use those ones to get scrolls for memory fragments. The only issue on these ones are they are exchange trash loots, meaning that they are the ones that you have to go to a certain NPC and turn over your items to get maximized silver for those. So for example, the useful coin pouch at Wandering Rogue's Den, which you need to convert and exchange 600 for a 1 million worth of gold bars. Moving on to the Valencia region for the 100 APs is the Bastion's base. The only drawback on this one is it doesn't give much XP compared to the other places, but it's a comfortable grind nevertheless. And the other one is the Desert Naga Temple above Sandgrain Bazaar, and this one is the one that gives a lot of Blackstone armors and weapons, so as a beginner this is very beneficial for you, but the only issue is it does get crowded pretty fast during season, as it's very accessible just north of Sandgrain Bazaar. And then the other one is the Tedium Valley, which is way out there in the desert. You would need a compass to get over here as a new player, just not to get lost. And the good thing about this one is this has, from my experience, has the best drop rate for the ancient scrolls, which is currently at the time of a recording is 2.2 million. So that is one good way to gain more money. For AP ranges of 110 to 160, I would recommend first the Soldier's Cemetery. It also drops the forbidden books as mentioned earlier, and is a good source for SP if you're just building up your seasoned character, and it's a pretty relaxed grind. And then the next one is Helm's Post. I do not recommend here, like for newer players, as you do not have the inventory space and weight to handle the green items that it drops frequently. But if you do have fairies and maids that you could utilize, then you could feed those green grade items to your fairy and then port over to your maid for anything else that drops that you want to keep. And then Elric Shrine is kind of like one place I don't really recommend, but if all other spaces are full, then this is a kind of like a good grinding spot for at least 1 to 2 players, because like it's not as dense as the other spots, but it's also a good way to get more SP. Up north is the Southern Garrison. This one is a good grind spot for leveling up to 56 if you haven't done so yet. And the bad thing about this one though is it does get full fast because of the boosting players, or the players that are boosting their guildies for level during the first week of the season. Another options from Valencia region is the Cadbury Ruins, though I do recommend players to max out their skills first before heading over here, as the mobs are more tougher compared to the other grind spots. And then we have up north above Shakatu is the Gahaz Bandit's Lair, which is a good source of the ancient scroll that can be sold for, at the time of the recording, 2.2 million. But also the issue with this one is it does get full fast, as a lot of players flocked over here on the first week. Last but not the least is the Crescent Shrine, where the Crescent Ring drop, and the only issue is here that you have to go to Sandgrain Bazaar and have a compass, or else you might get lost traveling to the desert terrain, so just be careful on that one before heading out for here. For AP range of 160 to 220, I would recommend first is the Mari Cave, as these are just tombstones that you hit and monsters spawns around it continuously up until it breaks, so you would just need to move on to another tombstone. And this one gives a lot of SP, so especially for those that are just building their character, this is one perfect spot for you. Next recommendation for this AP range is the Police Forest, if you can find an open grind spot. Normally at the beginning of the season and as the season progresses, people tend to stay here as it drops a lot of Ancient Spirit Dust and also a good source of SP. But if that one is full, you could head on over to Fados Habitat. There's a lot of rotations over here that you can take. It doesn't give much SP as Police Forest, but is a good source of money for beginning players. The next one is the Wargon's Nest, and this is kind of the same with the Hexamarie Cave Tombstones. There's just one Wargon that spits out or populates the smaller Wargons that you kill repeatedly up until the big Wargon dies. And this is one good source of all the season materials, as this one drops a lot of them, especially if you have the loot scrolls on. The next one is the Prodi Cave, and it's directly above Valia, and this one also gets populated a bit, and this has the chance to drop the red seals, which are about 108 million at the time of the recording. For AP range of 230 and up, which means that you already have your pen weapons and most of your accessories are already Tet and Pen Tuvala, then I would recommend to go to Piliku Jail, which is also the source of a map piece, but that is a different topic on its own. The reason why I say it's 230 and above is it to become more comfortable for you. At 210, it's kind of like scraping it, and you would have a hard time dealing with these ones. But if you have more skills unlocked, then definitely this is going to be a comfy grind, as it's very far from civilization and not a lot of seasoned player frequent this place. And then the next one above Valencia is the Road Sulfur Mine, which is a great spot for Blackstone armors and weapons, and also a place to drop the additional map piece that you would need for the Archaeologist map. The next one I recommend is the Camasilvia region, and that's the Navarran Steppe, the Mansion Forest, and the Forest Ronaros area. So the good thing about these ones are there are dailies over here that you could use that would give you Caphras and Ancient Spirit Dust, but the only drawback is that they hit hard. So I recommend to have at least a sub weapon of Tet, which is an equivalent for Kurum, and also full Tet armors so that you don't die easily to these mobs. And now we're going to be talking on the places to avoid, and these are just my personal experiences, so if you do want to grind over at these spots, then please go ahead and do so. So first is at the Dragon region at Shirakan Necropolis. So as a beginner, you don't know much of the blocks, the SAs of your skills, then you would have a hard time over here as they CC a lot, and this is also a spot where players grind for the pot piece. Another one is the Bloodwolf Settlement, and it does not give much of good returns in terms of your money per hour, and it's also most of the time full because of the grinders for the pot piece. For the Teshira Ruins, it does say that it just needs 140, but the trash loot is horrendous and the drop rate for the other items is bad based on my experience, so I try to avoid this as much as possible. Even when I grind here for the mana pot piece, I really dread it, so I would suggest to skip this one. The next one is at the Odalita region, and this one pretty much would get you killed if you go over there. Thornwood Forest, they CC a lot, so you would be, CC locked, so you would die easily. And then Tunkara is the same, they hit hard, especially at night. You will just like die at one shot. And also Crypt of Resting Thought, don't even think about it. And also Aldens, if you don't want to lose experience, then like really just avoid this area for now during the seasons. So guys, I'm going to be ending over here as to not complicate things, but here are my final thoughts and tips. So continue improving your gear and also grind where you are comfortable at. As an old man, my reflexes are not the same as when I was younger, so I try to find spots that are easier for me and not really sweating too much, and also save as much as possible for after season gains. And this is one lesson that I learned the hard way before, as I was spending on some of the other items that I thought that would make me money, but it wasn't really. So I focused on gains and was able to buy my pen necklace just through grinding my last 8 billion from the season. And do your own tracking and your silver per hour so that you would know what to improve on things that you think is slowing you down. And as always guys, like if you think that this video has helped you in any way, please do consider subscribing to help the growth of the channel, and I will be trying to improve more on the quality of my future guides. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.